on into the game. Welcome one and welcome all as we go into Jacaranda, and we are going to get close spawns. As we will start in the bottom right hand side of the map, our blue Terran player from the Shopify Rebellion. This is ByuN. Taking on the red Zerg in the top right corner of the map from Dragon Phoenix Gaming. This is going to be Rogue. I am missing a Shopify logo. There we go. Oh, did I not have that on all day yesterday? Ooh, I'm a bad caster. Oh. I'm not respecting the sponsors, am I? My goodness. Alright, so this is a best of 5 here in the playoffs. ByuN and Rogue played a fun series during their regular kind of group stage game. They finished 3rd and 4th in the group, hence they play each other first in the playoffs. Let's see what we get. We saw on Jacaranda, so this is one of the maps which is obviously 4-player. I actually do personally I think I do really like this map. I think I like this map more than the other 4-player maps. This and Undercity, I think, are the 2 4-player maps which kind of work a bit better. What I think the spawns here are pretty nice for Rogue main naturally. You take the 3rd and you can expand away from the Terran. You can kind of take down these rocks for 4th base up here as well. The only thing I do worry about a little bit is if you take this space right here, then you can just take down these rocks, and then you have like a screen, like a screen's pushed to get into the Zerg's natural or so. And I feel like that is definitely a bit of a problem. Although ByuN is just going to start this up with a fancy-ass build anyway. Command Center first into triple racks. Now, this first Overlord will come in, instantly sees CC first. So, the way that Rogue set up his scout, by the way, is he went left with his first Overlord, so he'll get to the main super quickly. And then he goes south with the second Overlord, so you will see the natural of this base really quickly. So, you actually get to figure out, basically, at the same time, if your opponent is in a close spawn or a cross spawn. It's not like, if you send this Overlord down here first, you would either see this CC or not, and then this CC or this base over here takes longer to get to because you got to fly all the way into the main to check it, right? So, I like the order of the way in which Rogue scouts there. That's something very typical, and honestly would not be that interesting if 4-player maps were any sort of, a common occurrence, because this would just happen all the time. Obviously, this is not happening all of the time right now, so worth bringing up for a moment or two. As we have a couple of queens on the way out, so bringing those up, getting those underway. The Marines on the way out here from ByuN as well, as we all see an SCV coming forward and going to place down a little depot at the front here as well. Just getting a little depot up and running, get that started in the wall off already. So the fact you can already build, like, your second depot of the game on that low ground and that wall, already preparing to deal with any possible run-bys for when you move out, it's going to really give ByuN a little bit of power as well, as we'll take an additional gas, and of course just building off 3 racks. See double reactor coming down. It's going to be a hell of a lot of Marine production here for the foreseeable future. So there's going to be a lot of Marines coming out for the time being. That is for certain, as we do see a few drones. Well, they're going to wander forward as well. Just transferring between the bases right now, as we'll see a factory dropping down. No surprises once again. I will see +1 start, and the one thing to mention is obviously double reactor means we will just have Stimpack. We will not be combat shield or first push or anything along those lines. We'll see how that turns out. Again, the pushing direction, if you don't take down these rocks, you go up here and then you kind of come up this or down that ramp, up this ramp. It's actually not a bad rush distance to begin with. It's once those rocks go down that later in the game, that rush distance and the distance from base to base, especially if the Terran's taking their next base further up the map, that's when it becomes a bit more of a problem, I think. That's why I think it becomes way more of a problem, as we are about to have Stim. I think the way this is timed out is we're actually maybe going to go combat shields before anything. Rogue is going to pop down a baneling nest, by the way, so one of the main things about this 3 racks is that a lot of the time it can be hard to read maybe the fact that it's a 3 racks versus a 2 racks. If you prepare for a 2-1-1, you are going to be in trouble, because the standard defense for 2-1-1 is to play, basically a bunch of queens and lings off of 47-ish drones. Against the 3 racks, you don't want that. Because the extra few Marines actually just make all the difference, so that you can't hold the first wave with Ling Queen it hits a little later, but you just can't be on Link Queen, right? So you got to have a little bit extra. In this case, it's going to be the Banelings, and the Banelings just being there early just means you can force those Marines to split up. They have to split and run, and if you're forcing them to split and run, you're pretty much having a good time as the Zerg player. So Rogue making the right choices here early. We'll see how ByuN does on the follow-up to this. We'll see if he adds Barracks 4 and 5, and he goes for the 2 base all-in. We're living in a meta where the 2 base all-in is actually a very real thing here in TvZ. It's not something we've seen for years, but it actually is a real viable option this week, apparently. And I say this week because it really has been like this week we've seen it, and we'll see how long it sticks around for. But people are really, and not just 1 or 2 players, like it feels like all the Terran players are cranking out this 2 base all-in the last few days. It's been a very interesting watch, as we will start pushing up with these first medevacs. So really did wait for pretty much all the upgrades, +1, and combat shields finished as well. It's a ton of Marines that stim on 40 here. These Banes, I don't have any faith in these Banelings because of ByuN's target fire, and he gets all but one of them! That one was actually tough to get, as ByuN is going to lift up and leave with what he can. I think that one Baneling he didn't target fire is because it was under a medevac, and so it's obviously very difficult to target a Baneling which is under one of your own units. That was a good first cleanup for Rogue. It started off looking okay for Rogue. Then the Banes did get target fired despite them getting very close, but that final Baneling connector makes a world of difference. And now ByuN in a little bit of a tougher spot. He did go 3rd CC, mind you, so it's not a 2 base all-in. 3rd CC, then additional racks, so not quite what I was talking about. Previously, he sent the the low HP, kind of half-full medevac back to pick up units there, and that wasn't quite it from ByuN either. That will not be doing it. As you see, these Marines are going to move on forward, and they are going to try and clean out a good amount of creep spread as well, of course. So cleaning up as much creep as possible. More Marines in a tank unloading. And just going to be seeing our armor upgrade will finish soon to give ByuN a proper 1-1 upgrade lead, but I mean, his army supply is still similar. Just remember that the 3rd is obviously later than usual, just because you're putting on a lot of pressure early game. So that means that if you're not doing damage, this is generally becoming a bit of a better setup here for Rogue. As we will scan, and a few of these creep timbers will begin to go down. Marines, couple tanks, medevacs all coming back around through the center of the map, and just going to be having a push towards the left-hand side. I mean, if nothing else, ByuN here is really just looking to stay very active on the map, right, with these drops. As the Link Bane wraps around the left side here from Rogue, ByuN really is just sort of saying, let's try this way, let's try that way. He's trying to keep Rogue just guessing and dancing. Now, we'll see how this base works. One of the things with this base here is that you do have this top left main base to the side of it. So if ByuN gets a drop up here, I don't know how much that affects this hatch on the low ground. Can tanks hit that far? They can definitely cover the mineral line. This is definitely going to be, maybe not right now, but in the future, it's definitely going to be a frustrating position to deal with, especially if you can get like a position like this set up, while you also have like the push on the right side, because that's when Rogue isn't going to be able to send so much over here to deal with the high ground and the low ground, right? That's definitely going to be, you know, one of the more problematic timings. We saw, it was ByuN versus Rogue as well, where ByuN actually really did that to him on one of the other 4-player maps that these guys played. In the regular group stage, I believe that was, I want to say Bulwark, I believe that was on Bulwark, and that high ground really was just abused, and he really just didn't let Rogue get to 4 bases because of it. This map is a bit better for it, I think. I don't think it's as abusable, which is nice, and this is why I think for me, Jacaranda is one of the 2 better 4-player maps as well in this map pool that we have. I'm just going to be seeing a couple of meters are going to fly on top of this. This is massive. Actually going to be able to stop these units from just flying around forever. Lib's going to see a jump. The meters will busy themselves with that as the medevacs get away. Lib gets 3 drones, so not a bad start. The medevacs, though, have lings underneath them, and obviously the meters are now chasing as well. ByuN's going to start trying to take attention to the right side instead. Wants Rogue to focus over here. Looks like these medevacs will get to unload. There's rocks down there too, so it will kind of force back the ground army for a bit. Make the ground army take longer to get. He's now going to siege. I mean, he's in a good choke. Unless the Banes get there, it's going to be difficult to clear him up. And again, ByuN just utilizing... Well, what he's utilizing is a lot of these setups on the map that we don't usually see in modern-day Starcraft. And the reason we don't usually see, like, full-on, you know, rock rolls like this into a base down here is because map makers haven't had to put them in, because these rocks are kind of they're a safety net for the spawning locations for when the Terran player kind of gets close. You know, for anyone getting close spawns, they're designed to kind of protect a corner of the map, and that's not really a thing in modern-day StarCraft maps, because you don't really need to do that so much on 2-player maps, but you need to account for the possible spawn locations on a 4-player map. So ByuN using this, right, getting down here, dropping off in this corner, like I said, it's kind of funny how something which is obviously designed to help out with the, you know, the map being 4-player, etc., can actually have an effect on then how this drop may get to survive and may get to run away where it usually might not. The counterattacking from Rogue, ByuN did a good job of handling this. I feel like the best he could initially. He's going to lose everything on the natural, and I feel like that's just got to be a given. He's going to clean up all of this Ling Bane, though, so that wasn't exactly cheap for Rogue. Like, that cost him a lot of units to kite back into the Liberator zones. Helps out a lot, even if they do a lot of overkill on Lings. And there's only 10 Lings, and the Libs end up getting 4 or 5 shots off. That's a lot of Lings going down much faster than before. We're going to go pushing up to the top. Our Marines on a bit of a journey as an Overlord goes down. A few Banes who kind of got a catch there. ByuN was kind of like, do I target fire? Oh, this is good. He's actually got the power just to stand and fight before the Banes get to him. Mutas are across the map causing issues, so ByuN has to deal with that at the same time, but now he's on top of the Bane nest. We're now seeing the close by ground spawns really come into effect. Suddenly ByuN is just on top of the base of Rogue, right on top of the natural. Banes could go crashing in. If ByuN had the rest of his Marines forward there, those Banes might not have connected. Rogue now rebuilds the Bane nest. He did at least have another round of Banelings started up here as ByuN is going to just lift up and let the tanks do the work. But remember, he's got a bit of time here where essentially he doesn't have to worry about new Banelings, just the ones that are already on the map. ByuN has to go and deal some damage because his economy is gone. 38 workers dead. He only has 13 SCVs left on the map with 38 workers killed now and 20 workers killed before. There's a lot of Lings just running in, but remember, there's just no Baneling production right now. The Muta's coming in from the other side, and they will get one of the siege tanks. The other siege tank goes down to Broodlings and Lings. So only a couple of tanks left. I'm not super worried about the splash damage for ByuN. I actually feel like his Marine count might just be able to do this. Especially if you can keep on picking off reinforcements. 16 Banelings now on the way, though, so the 2 tanks will definitely have some value. The question is, does Rogue have to clean this up? I suppose kinda, yeah. If he doesn't, ByuN will probably just continue to press this position. Muta's on the counterattack once more, by the way, so they are again going to be moving in to try and stop this base from mining and just making sure any last remnants of ByuN's economy are going to stay dead. ByuN does take us a chance to move toward the main base. Lings and Banes are going to start running in. Marines go down to the low ground. Banes are on the high ground too. I didn't see those Banelings, and that might just be too many Banes to deal with. The Marines are on the kite backwards. Beautiful splitting from ByuN. Cannot deny that the splits were amazing, but is it enough? As the Mutas fly on in, the Marines with 2-2 will do what they can. They do not do enough, and ByuN has to lift, and ByuN has to run. More Marines show up, though. It's just Ling Muta, and Ling Muta alone may not be able to do this. You're going to need another round of Banelings, and they aren't ready yet. So ByuN is pushing on forwards. All the Lings just ran to the left side. 5 Banes started morphing. Rogue cancels them, realizing I need to make these further away. I need to make them somewhere safer. He starts 7 Banelings, but that is the last of Rogue's gas. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, Rogue. Is this somehow falling apart? A little bit towards the end. A few Marines want to reinforce, but they just can't quite find their way there. Medivacs need to stop and heal for a second. Get everything to as high HP as possible for this upcoming fight. 7 Banelings is all Rogue has got, and now it's only 3. Now they crash in, but now it's Marines against Ling Muta again. A few more Lings going down. ByuN is half the supply of Rogue, but he has almost equal army supply. Rogue has got some money, but he's going to morph Banes in the main, but the Marines come up into the main. He's now going to morph them in the corner of the main base, realizing ByuN might not scout there. He might not see it. He sees a couple Lings running south. He's going to find them. The Banelings are seen again, and these 2-2 Marines will continue to shred. There's only 1 Baneling in the army of Rogue, and he needs to get a chance to morph Banes once more, but the Baneling nest is here. And ByuN should target that Bane nest. It's a priority. No Banelings once again. And this game is going to become absolutely crazy because ByuN is just not going to die to Rogue. He's spawning pool on the way. Here we go. There's 1 Baneling target fired down. Is the Ling Muta enough? I think it might be. Not enough healing from the Medivacs as ByuN's last few Marines will fall down. The cleanup from Rogue will happen. Oh my goodness. Rogue desperately was just trying to find units and Banelings for such a long time. ByuN actually puts this to 35 drones to 14 SCVs. Mules still triple mule dropping down. I mean, like, ByuN has a surprisingly decent setup, all things considered. Oh, wow. That's kind of crazy, guys. I gotta just say it. I'm gonna see one medevac Marine's gonna go over here. I guess wants to maybe finish up some of the tech in the main base. Rogue is gonna counterattack down to the bottom side. These few mutalisks trying to aim themselves towards, well, just anything. Reinforcements, just a couple of units here and there. Raiders do end up flying over towards the natural expansion. A few SCVs going down as well. I mean, obviously this is the goal of Rogue. He's got the mobility of the mutas, and ByuN doesn't necessarily have what it takes to deal with these mutalisks, and that is the problem. You just don't quite have the units to split up properly. If you chase them down, you're going to stim a lot. You don't have the medevacs to heal up from that. And of course, Rogue has just been building behind this. He had that top left side of the map come up during all of this as well. And so Rogue is going to stabilize. And that's why we were kind of getting so excited about ByuN's army, because ByuN's army needed to win the game. And it was on the point of maybe doing it, right? If you shut that army of Rogue down fast enough and you can just jump on his bases. This is too much Rogue, and now ByuN has to tap out GG, but an exhilarating first game. Wow. For our second game. As in the bottom right-hand side, down a map, it's going to be our red Terran play. He made it as close as he possibly could in map number 1. It was just not enough. It is ByuN in the bottom right-hand corner. Bottom left is going to be the blue Zerg player from Dragon Phoenix Gaming. Rogue. He did not have a great CVT yesterday. If you missed the World Team League playoffs, I gotta say you gotta at least go watch the finals. We had some tech issues and stuff before the finals and so on from the clean feed, but the finals was actually just great. The finals was really, really good, and especially some of the last games. I'm not gonna say it because I actually just will not spoil, just in case you haven't seen them for whatever reason. Maybe you only watch during the week while at work, but if you need to catch up on some Starcraft, do go catch up on the World Team League playoffs, because they were really, really good yesterday. And again, like I say, especially the grand finals was fantastic. Treadmill, one of the maps, freestyle maps. Again, we don't have, now we've seen the maps a lot over time. We don't really kind of go into detail on them every single time in the early game, but I do like Treadmill. Actually, I think it was one of the more interesting maps submitted, and it works surprisingly well. I think it's very easy to see this map and be like, well, this is just a joke, right? Like, acceleration zones around the top and stuff. It's like, what's that meant to do? It's kind of weird because we still haven't really seen this portion of the map be utilized. And that's kind of because the bottom of the map really just promotes playing the bottom of the map initially. But what I do think would be cool is if we even got, like, a later game, being able to be, like, sort of here and pressuring here, and then being like, wait a sec, let's run over here to reposition around. Like, that's a possibility. Like, that is a thing on this map that we haven't really seen be used because we've not seen a game that it's really been applicable for in any way. But I do think that's something which we gotta look at, I think that's something we gotta keep our eye. Like, I actually, I really think this map has potential. I think the layout is very similar to Blackburn, but it's an improved Blackburn. I think it does a lot of the bottom half of Blackburn, the bottom side of the map works similar to Blackburn, but in a better way. I don't think it's as abusable. I love having this base here because it means that this base with the slow zones is easier to defend than Blackburn's forward base, which means you can take this base, which means you don't have the issue of a player pushing up here because you can't take this base because it's too easily pushed into, and then being like, zoop, into your main base, because that was a big issue, or that is still a big issue on Blackburn for sure. So it's, yeah, definitely a, I really like it. Just because I almost like it more because I've seen Blackburn, Because I've seen Blackburn and I've seen how Blackburn plays, I almost like it more because I know Blackburn can work as a map, but I can also see the faults in Blackburn. And I feel like this really does fix a lot of those faults, so maybe that's like why I'm like so big on this map. And like, yes, we still have to use our imagination a bit for these bases and these acceleration zones, but I genuinely don't think they're necessarily, I don't think they're a bad thing. I definitely think that's something which can be made to work and so on, Reaper hanging around, just gonna see the couple of Hellions joining up, of course. Early game is pretty standard. Well, Hellions and the Reaper obviously not expected to do too much there. Excuse the frame rate, guys. I just tapped out for a moment. I'm on a 2-minute delay today, so I'm, you know, if someone asks me something that was a couple minutes ago that I just want to quickly type a response to, I'm gonna go just type a response instead of saying it out loud. On a 2-minute delay because it's ESL Open Cup tonight. So yeah, just sorry if the frame rate drops. That's just me tapping out of Starcraft for a few moments. Turns out that's just a thing I can't really fix, which is kind of unfortunate. Well, Hellions are going to make their way to the playground here. As they just have a little bit of a look around. It's going to be seeing the drones coming on through. I mean, early game just very standard. Not much to talk about build-wise. 3CC kind of speaks for itself. We're going to go double racks, double engineering bay behind this as well. I think the problem is if you get 4-5 base on the bottom, it takes a long time before you need to go to the top. No, for sure. I think what we need is something like a TvZ where the Zerg is typically maybe not going to want to take this base and maybe wants to try and take, I don't know, maybe this base up here or so. It is maybe a tough map for Zerg because I feel like this base isn't easily held because of this whole area. This space is kind of in the corner, which is, might actually be okay. Yeah. I mean, obviously, that's why we haven't seen a lot of the map on the top of the map. But to be fair, it's also not like we've even seen a lot of the map games on this map go to 4 bases. I feel like it's just been a bit unfortunate in that regard. Rogue is going to try and take the gold. This is the first time we've seen this happen. A lot of the games on this map have been like 10-ish minutes long, but not in a bad way, like in a very entertaining way as well. Hellions just going to be hanging around and just going to be taking that watchtower a little bit. Like I said, I mean, you know this gold is coming up here as ByuN. I mean, you got to be able to do something from over here, right? Like, that's just got to be a thing, surely. Or does Rogue really believe in defending this gold base? I guess we'll find out. Maybe the map might work better if you remove this base. Yeah, I kind of thought about this too, but actually, this base is difficult to hold because you can set up stuff behind it on the ledge. Like, you have a really good... Like, your opponent has a good kind of way to get here. Obviously, if you can just hold down the center, brilliant, but then you can also kind of come around and, like, still drop on this side. It's vulnerable from this side, so if you're holding too far forward, you have the backstab option. So I actually think that map might, or that base might encourage the top of the map to be used a little bit to kind of attack around what might be a very solid forward position, you know? It's definitely an interesting map. It's a very, I think it's a very intriguing map that isn't necessarily broken or a map that people don't want to play on, so I kind of like it. These Marines, by the way, just going to come back through. A couple of creep tumors will go down. Aliens are being picking away at some of these creep tumors as well. As the hatchery still taking some damage on the bottom side. Ling Muta coming through, and they're just going to go diving on the medevacs a little bit. Have a counterattack straight into this bottom side base as ByuN aims for the gold. He is just going to lose this base. He didn't get full surround on his turret, but that might be okay as Rogue flies his mutas over. They're not going to have a good time. This base goes down. He already lost a couple of mutas. I think Rogue is in some serious trouble here. ByuN also just 1-1 against 0-0. What was Rogue doing this game? Like, mutas and then just hasn't started his upgrades still. I mean, he's so far behind on the upgrades. Maybe just because he came under attack here and he just wasn't able to hold this at all. 7 workers went down. Don't think Rogue's necessarily in a position to clean this up. Not with the upgrade deficit, etc. Oh, we're actually going to see some action around the acceleration zones. ByuN using this as a quick runaway. And Rogue not feeling like chasing through that kind of narrow avenue. So how do you see the acceleration zones in use? As ByuN will continue on forward and bring this Marine Hellbat force through. A couple of these troop tumors already dropping down. That's going to be seen. Widow Mine's covering the ramp a little bit. And oh, Mutas! I'll lose another one there. I think this is... So, this is one of the things I wondered about a bit on this map. This idea of just being able to push as the Terran. I do feel like the Zerg has decent ways to surround. Like, you can come... You can run down here and set up from here. You can maybe come from here. But it is all very narrow. I think maybe even killing off these rocks is something you maybe should have focused on as a Zerg early. Guys, I got a BRB 1 sec. The door's ringing. I'll be right back. Apologies, guys. I had to have a COVID test collected today because of traveling to Sweden. I have to do a couple different tests while being back, so just had to wait for that to be collected. Apologies for BRBing during a kind of interesting part of the game. Just the way it works out is our mute is gonna back it up a little bit. Force moving to the upper left-hand side. Did I miss anything exciting, squad? I think ByuN was in the lead when we left, and he's in the lead right now, right? Whew. Apologies, just ran down all the stairs and ran back up the stairs. Need to catch my breath, guys. Not in the best shape post-pandemic, to be quite frank with you all. Because we do see this Bioforce, yeah, coming through this top side again, aiming for this top left base. I mean, going for the top left base does put you in this weird position where the Zerg can engage you kind of top left and bottom side with the the boosted creep spread, you know, to kind of come through. So it actually makes for a decent position of fighting for the Zerg. Man, I feel I love it. We're finally getting to see some of the different parts of this map being used on this game, and that's just freaking exciting. And we're just gonna run it back over that left-hand side. I'm gonna see more of this army from ByuN still hanging around in the center. Pick away a couple of these mutalisks. Little mine shoots. Meter goes down. Seeing the +3 attack upgrade coming in as well. It's just getting that ready to roll. I mean, upgrades are still something which are heavily in favor of ByuN. He's about to be +3, +2 against 1-1. And a nice ByuN getting the attack upgrade and not the armor upgrade for once. Yeah, usually if he gets only one of the upgrades, it's the armor one he starts first and then the attack upgrade after. It's going to be seeing the Bioforce here of ByuN. So just moving around the center. Mutilist's going to come back along the right-hand side as well. They're going to aim for this base, this fresh base. So you see the mutas back down the bottom side. Just going to grab a missile turret and just going to be able to pick that up as a few of these lings going to be diving into the mineral line for a few more SCVs. I mean, Rogue actually having a good few moments here. How is Rogue winning some of these fights as well, by the way, by being so far down on upgrades? He's really doing a great job of jumping between the bases with these mutas. And he has had some decent fights elsewhere too. There's attack on the main base. Let's see how this goes with the upgrade advantage in ByuN's favor as well. We're still left sub, gonna let the Thor and the Widow Mines do a bit of the work. And now he's just gonna drop back to the low ground. He abandoned poor Thor, just gets left behind. Oh my god, ByuN actually losing the main base orbital during this as well. That's really something. 23 workers going down. Widow Mine hits and just going to be hitting the Mutalisks. Army trying to come through the slow zone. It's going to be seeing the rest of these Marines still pushing up towards the top. The Mutas, the Overseer, in some trouble. Like this, just Marines taking the Watchtower. This gold base might be under attack again. ByuN is trailing a lot of supply, guys. A lot of that is in workers. I feel like right now, if ByuN gets a straight-up fight, he can do so well still with these upgrades, although I know that's not really what we've been seeing up until now as well. He's coming through. These Banes continue to roll on down. Another Widow Mine gets picked up, and just going to be seeing still this army of Rogue. It's going to rotate back out of here. Extra Marines showing up on this front position. Just going to be seeing our gold base once again probably going to fall. ByuN is still going to have the mutas as a threat across the map as he's rallying across and trying to just reinforce here as best as possible. He's now going to turn some of it away as the mutas dive in. The turret does survive a while and gets a muta kill and obviously buys time for mutas to get here. Same time, Ling's on the bottom side base. And once more, ByuN is taking hits to the economy. $13, $14 workers still going down. Don't tell me another orbital's going to die. ByuN doesn't lift it up. ByuN, what happened in this game? Just the upgrades are amazing and everything, and he's just not been able to put two fights together to close this out. This army supply, this drop-off that happened here was massive and definitely brought the game together, but I can't believe that ByuN's not been able to win a fight since then either. Now he's absolutely fallen apart to these mutalisks. He's had no real way to shut these mutas down. As a round of banelings still continuing to morph in. We'll start pulling back. Our bio army coming through here. Other Zerglings coming forward, and the baneling coming in as well. Medevac's loading up. Some more lanes coming through. A couple of Widowmine shots going off. A Widowmine does get picked away at there as well. Still just seeing this army still coming through. Another Widowmine lining up. Marines are here. Muta's being picked away at. Lings and Banes continuing on through. Marines pulling back. Just going to be seeing ByuN continue to kite. He's in a slow zone, so he can't run very quickly any longer. Does stop the Lings and the Mutas being as effective as they try and chase in for the last few units. A lot of the units are going down from Rogue, but ByuN is just going to run out of stuff. GG, Rogue is going to take a 2-0 lead. What a turnaround in this game. That was crazy. There was that fight like 6 minutes ago that was so one-sided. Just going to have a quick re-look at this, guys. Just again, sorry for the doorbell. I have to, like I say, because I traveled to Sweden, I have to take like 2 or 3 tests, COVID tests when I come back on certain days. Today's just one of those days, and there's no one else in to hand the test over to the guy that picks it up. So sorry for having to BRB, and especially during a cool part of the game. And it was just like, there's like the upgrade difference is crazy, and yet ByuN just can't. Like, what fight? Was it this fight here? This fight was huge. Like, this fight actually went so well for Rogue at the top. This is actually the fight that, like, ByuN lost so much in. The Banes with the creep and the speed zone. And then the Mutas come in and clean up. That was a ridiculous fight. And then you lose, like, all the medevacs, too. Wow. Crazy, crazy game here between Rogue and ByuN. We will have in the top right side on Iliad, Red Zerg, who is leading this series 2-0. It is going to be Rogue. Taking on the bottom left blue Terran player from the Shopify Rebellion, we have got ByuN. Alright guys, game 3. Let's see if ByuN can fight back. Definitely thought this was going to 1-1. That last game was just... I mean, obviously that big fight really turned it around. It really kind of slowed down the way that ByuN was, you know, how ByuN was doing. And it obviously... I mean, just what a crazy game, really. Gotta say. ByuN. Just... I can't even summarize it. Like, to be so far ahead on upgrades and to just not be able to seemingly win a single fight. You know what actually almost... I don't want to say I'm glad it happened, but I almost wonder if this map is just that much more difficult for a Terran to push into. Versus, say, when we see kind of Blackburn and we see the Terran pushers just be super successful, super easily all of the time. You know, it almost felt like this map was that little bit harder to push on. The slow zone definitely slowed him down a bit. There's a lot of places, different places he wanted to try and be. I don't know, it kind of makes me, because I was worried about that, you know, that map maybe having the same issue of Blackburn as, you know, Terran pushes in one direction are just too strong. And while it definitely seemed to be the case early, and I definitely think ByuN just messed up a lot against the Mutas too. Maybe the map helped a little bit. Just theorizing a little bit, guys. I like Treadmill. It's definitely one of the ones I'll just tell you guys. It's one of the ones that got some of my votes or some of my points in the TLMC voting. Make sure you vote as well. Today is the last day. ! TLMC in the chat. We'll give you the link to vote. So yeah, go vote. I'll like I said, I think we'll talk. I'll reveal my votes in a little bit. I don't want to do it just now, but I think as the day goes on, it's definitely something fun to talk about. I feel like you can definitely tell I voted for freaking. You can definitely tell I voted for Treadmill because I feel like I talk very hyped about it. Iliad's an interesting map. I actually continue to be intrigued about this map in TvZ because this base here feels like super choked up, and this feels like a very claustrophobic third base. If you want to take that forward base. Nice for Terra to kind of take and wall, but then you've also got this kind of access point in to worry about as well. Which makes me think overall it might actually be better for a Terran to still expand down here if you want to just be able to, say, wall off here, and then your third base is kind of... I mean, I guess you can still come down here and down here. It's an interesting one because, like, there's not really a good way to guarantee that, you know, a run-by isn't going to get in. I feel like Iliad's been done a little bit dirty in this tournament as well. I've just not seen the... It's not really developed into a lot of the longer games, too. It's definitely one of the maps that's not had any of the kind of the cooler longer games on. Maras, who's made a lot of pretty maps in the past as well. I was kind of shocked to see her only get one into the finalists of this TLMC because she has been very successful the last couple of years. Let's just join up and we do wait for our queens to obviously continue to be the defense here. Like I say, it's narrow entryways. It's very hard to slip past anything on this map. And one of the things as well, I suppose, because this is such a narrow entryway, to really deny the creep initially, you got kind of a big rotation from here all the way around here as well with those Hellions. Something else to kind of look at is just going to be seeing the Stimpak coming through. That's a Liberator. I was going to say, what the hell is that sound? A Liberator is just anti-air attack. You don't hear that every day on its own. Usually if you hear that, it's a bunch of libs joined up together. I was just listening. I was like, what is that? Armory about to be done. ByuN going to bring the Hellbats here on Iliad, trying to utilize the size of the map to hit quickly and hit hard. And, I mean, Rogue is droning past 50. Preparation from Rogue here is almost non-existent, and let's see if you can make something happen. The Liberator is going to end up on the third base during this, while all of the Queens are dealing with the Hellbats. The Lings do not want to jump on those Hellbats either. The Medevac is surviving really long as well, so a lot of healing coming through. And those Hellbats trade up brilliantly so far. The drones pulled to the corner. The Liberator was still alive. Keeping this Medevac alive too. Even more healing just for those last few seconds. Get a bit more health on these Hellbats. I mean, that's just a lot of efficiency here. And this Liberator going to siege up. So much lost mining time for Rogue. And while ByuN doesn't, like, you know, straight up win the game off this, it's the mining time that really adds up. One Liberator now goes down. Another Liberator sieges in the main. The Queens are still nearby here. Don't know if this was necessarily the play right then. He does get a Queen, but that's not ideal. I really felt like right then you didn't necessarily need to be that right away. You know, you maybe could have waited and then made a move once the Queens had reset back to their other bases. So about 5 drones went down, I believe, here in this game. 5 drones, 30 Lings. I mean, resources lost will tell you the Terran traded worse, but look at the income graph and see the spikes that ByuN takes in his favor. Definitely, you know, coming out of this in a decent spot. That said, the fact that Rogue was being a bit greedy and having a lacking defense going into it means that, well, I mean, it means that, yeah, basically now there's, what, 62 drones versus 45 SCVs. He just has a really good economy coming out. The fact he didn't die was obviously naturally very important, but, you know, but for being so greedy and not taking that much damage, it puts him into a really good position coming out of this. We're going to see another round of Hellbats setting up over here. Couple of creep teams at the front going down. Just going to be seeing the Zerglings making their way forward as well. Few Marines going to go behind the depots and just get a couple of shots off on those Lings as well. Combat Shield going to be finishing up in the main base. Just going to see our Hellions coming through. Our melee upgrades continuing up. Banelane speed starting on the Banelane nest as well. Need all the standard stuff coming through. I mean, this game Rogue is not going to have to play from massively behind on upgrades, so that's already great as he catches this set of Hellions as well. Are you just seeing like a Rogue that's like super showing up today? Like, he is looking freaking good at the moment. Marine setup, waiting for the 1-1 upgrades to be done. I mean, Rogue just now up to 5 bases as well as 5th building on that choked up base that I talked about earlier. This is one of those maps where I think if you get to the late game as a Terran, it plays very similarly to Oxide, and maybe it's got kind of remnants of Oxide in it. The idea of like a lot of like bases with ledges that you can kind of set up on, etc. for tank pushes early. If you get late game, it's got the 6 bases each, which means that the Zerg runs out of bases very quickly. And that's usually one of the problems for Zerg going into a later game, where, you know, you don't trade as well versus the Terran as the Terran does versus you, which means you typically need more economy, which is typically done by out-expanding and denying the economy of your opponent. Usually, the more bases you have, therefore, makes that a lot easier. On this map, only having a max of 6 bases means you need to get past that stage or end the game sooner before you kind of run out of money. And it also means it can be difficult because you don't have, like, if you can't quite take one position, you can't just be like, oh, I'll expand to my alternate option. There is no alternate option once you get to 6 bases. You take that 6th base or you're stuck on 5. And that's been something we've seen on Oxide a lot of the time that really aids the Terran players. It's one of the reasons Terran players definitely love Oxide as well. It's definitely been a factor as Marines move up this ramp. Going to be picking away at a few of those banelings. On the left side, a push continues to the upper left-hand side of this. But mine's burrowing up, a couple of Banes moving forward, splitting apart. These Banes all being picked away at. Okay, nice little trade here so far from ByuN. Is going to continue back. We'll have to load up into the medevac. Fighting on the right side as well. Sending Marines forward to fight these Queens. Medevac stayed back as well, knowing to stay safe. Knowing how quickly all those Queens would target those down if given the chance. And ByuN is very low on HP on all these units because he's just continuously dropping and stimming and moving and fighting. Trying to get so much damage out with all of these as Widow Mine's coming back off cooldown. Blowing up a whole bunch of stuff, including the Morphine Overseer. Hive is about halfway done. Again, the Lings of Rogue will continue down to the south side, so down they go. Run into this base of CC, which is going to get jumped on pretty much immediately. And a few Marines stemming forward. Just going to see a couple Lings get chased away immediately. So Lings get chased back. There's a burrowed Ling there. So I thought I was maybe like... I heard the burrow. I was like, wait, does he have banelings? No, he's just burrowing a Ling, which can actually provide a bit of information, right? A little bit of additional vision. Not a lot, but see some of the unit pathing. It's one of those things that's very underutilized, I feel like. You know, a Ling here, a Ling there to just kind of watch pathing of armies. He's gonna jump. Oh, shut down his own medevac. I think he was meant to kill the Rooks, and he killed his own medevac by mistake. Again, Rook kind of knows that the army's over to the right side because of the burrowed Ling, so he dives to the left-hand side, run by onto that base. Marines getting caught on the ramp. Widow Mines are not burrowed. The few Marines on the right side will stand strong against the Banelings, and they will take those down, but the damage is already done elsewhere. Drilling Claws is seconds away from completion, and it just completes before the Tech Lab dies. My goodness, a few Lings burrowed over here, running on this side, already killing the Sensor Tower, making it difficult for ByuN to deal with follow-up attacks. Yeah, guys, this just got very out of hand very quickly. And again, I think this one Zergling is genuinely being MVP. I think that one Zergling has genuinely allowed Rogue to see that this army was all out to the right and say, right, cool. If that's the case, boom, let's go. Let's push on forwards and let's jump on that left side. Let's punish ByuN for being on the right. Really good little piece of information used in a fantastic way. This base gets saved as ByuN doesn't pull his units away either, and the Banes just roll on through. Lings continue in onto everything else here. SCVs are still dropping. The Bio Army's still setting up. I mean, it looks as though Rogue is going to look pretty good here in this game too. I mean, edging towards the 3-0 at this stage. And STV's going down. Our 3-3 upgrade still just building. That's one thing that ByuN will have, but Rogue's also making his way into those ultras, so his army improving as well. Tell you what, ByuN's actually got a decent setup still, right? He's still got this 5th command center up and running over here. We've seen our medevacs going to go drop toward the upper left-hand side. Lingbane still trying to establish. Widowmine's moving around the right. Just going to see one Widowmine going off. This is going to come wrap around. Refinery goes down. Widowmine trying to line up. Doesn't get to hit on anything just yet. Excuse me, sorry. I need a drink for my throat. As the game settles down, man, this one Ling is genuinely telling Rogue so much about what ByuN is doing with his army. I really cannot emphasize just how good this one Zerglin has been. Things come in. Oh, ByuN's going to catch a lot of them. That was not a good run by for Rogue, so that was a bit expensive. He adds a couple more ultras in. I mean, the problem with ultras on this map is that it's just a very tight, choked up map. It's very difficult to find ultras a position to really fight into successfully, I think it's really difficult, actually. I'm going to grab the hatchery on the left side. Planetary building on the south as the medevac's going to fly through the top, past the top left, and in toward the base right here as well. Sling's going to get surround. Marauder goes down. Medevac going to load up. Is going to get shot down as well, so Medevac will also fall. Drop not being too successful. ByuN able to bring this to a maxed out game, and like I say, over time, resources lost here is favoring ByuN. Rogue is now already on all of the bases he should in theory have this game. So this, the clock starts ticking for Rogue to make an impact and to end this game before those bases dry on up. I'll just chase around the left-hand side. Yeah, I actually think this actually may be a rough map for Lingbane, I wonder if this might be a better map to play Lurkers on. Maybe tougher to get to Lurkers just because of the aggression the Terran can put on, but once you get there, you're getting a lot of choke points to utilize, a lot of choked up bases, so if Lurkers get in position, fighting out of that base from that point as the Terran is going to become extremely tough. Definitely a good couple of questions to be asking here as we continue through. Fire forces moving down the bottom side. Ultras actually don't get to come up this ramp and take a bit of a fight. If this fight is won by Rogue, he can then transition into denying the base as well. So this could be a double whammy. Planetary will help during this fight too. He's actually going to turn for the base. He's going to get a lot of the SCVs. And he will get the planetary as well as the other unit swept in from the left-hand side. Rogue overrunning ByuN's army. The army just coming up from the left was great, as Rogue is still trying to take one of ByuN's bases to the top left too. So ByuN, having to put some pressure and attention on that, does not want to let Rogue actually mine from there. These ultras, though, are apparently just going to keep on moving through. A couple libs show up to the siege, but they're a little bit late to the party at the moment, so they're not going to do too much either. Going to see Medevac still at the top side, not really doing anything, just sitting around. Now these ultras do start to get cleaned out. Rogue denied another base though, and that's a big hit he's just put on the economy of ByuN. All of a sudden, ByuN 37 SCVs, only 3 bases to work from, 2 of which at this stage of the game are absolutely going to be mined out. Little Ling run by in over here, going to force a scan when ByuN's economy is already low. ByuN needs command centers in different places, and he's just not got any ready to go, and he knows he's desperate, so he's going to put his main base orbital into the 4th position. And that means it's going to be an extreme weakness for Ling run-bys. A really easy point to attack for Rogue. That's definitely going to be something I imagine we see, an attempt to abuse, basically, in the near future. Fire Force going through, massive Widowmine shot. As Rogue runs in for this, ByuN's army supply is actually huge, so ByuN's standing army might still be okay, especially in a fight like this. I don't know if Rogue necessarily needed to keep on pushing here. Now he turns, he doesn't even get those Widow Mines. Rogue's army supply is struggling. He's got some transfusions for Ultralisk. He's going to turn around and try and use these transfusions to his advantage. A few Corruptors showing up as well. I think he just wants to clean out Medivacs. Maybe as well help against the Liberators, because obviously the Liberators here have been something being brought into play to deal with the Ultras. It's kind of old school TvZ to kind of go, you know, Corruptors with the Ultras to kind of protect from Libs, but yeah, that is apparently what Rogue has gone for this time around. Army supplies are getting ever closer. If this Ultra ever dies, this army then of Rogue is much weaker though, because that Ultra has been transfused forever basically. And now these Queens all go down too. Can Rogue, he's got 4 more Ultras on the way. Can he actually get a defense running, or is ByuN going to overrun him as he runs to the right-hand side here on Iliad? So his hatch is going to be taken down. Well, a couple of units moved down. They're going to try and protect the base. Even the Spore Crawler moving forward wanted to try and be an aid to this. Bane's rolling in a few at a time as well, but all off creep, and the army supply is a bit too much in favor of ByuN, it seems. Man, his units are such low HP as well. Rogue, do you need to be fighting here? I will ask again. He seems to think so. I wonder if he could have given up that base and just played top left, and at least then you're going to take some fights on creep. ByuN doesn't have a lot of bases. I don't think Rogue had to fight there. I don't. In the bottom left-hand side, still has that match point in his hands. Can he continue through to face Innovation in the next match of these playoffs? It is Rogue in the bottom left-hand corner, taking on the blue Terror in the top right-hand side. It is a ByuN. I'm glad Iliad got its longer game. Turned out to be kind of a cool game. Definitely think Iliad deserved a little bit of love, because it definitely did get a lot of shorter games throughout the event so far. So yeah, good for Iliad. I'm really shocked Rogue fought though. Still feel as though he really misjudged the situation. If he knows that ByuN is in as much trouble as he was, maybe he thought ByuN had bases coming up faster. If Rogue just pulls back, give up that right side base, play the top left-hand side of the map where you've got creep spread, and then take a fight or run by again, just a straight-up fight was never going to do it. Maybe he thought it would, and here's my main thoughts. Maybe he thought it would because he saw how low HP ByuN's army was, and ByuN's army was kind of running on, you know, running on steam. You know, it was just out of power almost. It had nothing left. That wasn't the phrase I was going for, but whatever. It had like nothing left. And he just about managed to make it pull through. Crazy stuff, guys. Crazy stuff. Get into this game 4 on SCV. Heads on down to the lower left side of the map. Scouting begins here. And beautiful map. I think definitely this map is one which perhaps wins the beauty award of the contest. It's well, like I said, it's delivered a lot of cool games this map as well. You got your kind of choice of this base or this base. 5 base, and then what's really crazy is that these bases they feel way out of the way, so it feels difficult to get them. It's going to be a real battle to really get to those and to make use of them. And what a great series to start off the Korean playoffs. Yesterday's European playoffs were fantastic as well. Every series went to all 5 maps, was just some awesome games. And this series, even if it ends on this one, if, you know, say Rogue takes it home, it's already been awesome too. Some twists and some turns to some great games as well. It's always good to see so many awesome matches in the maps, especially later on in the tournament as players get used to the maps as well, and they're like, okay, I see how this map works. You know, we do this, we do that sort of thing. That's pretty pretty neat as well. We're just dropping a grenade and obviously staying active as much as possible. Seeing it just starting to back away a little bit as we get ourselves set up into an armory. So, armory to get things going right now. Let's see how this Hellbat attack does. Last game had those Hellbats as well, and they were alright. I feel like Rogue came out of that opening in a pretty good position just for how greedy he was before it, and then still held without taking much damage. This time around, a few Lings on the way right now. 42 drones, and Bane Nest is about halfway done as here come the Hellbats. We morph on in. Big points to the front, but not everything gathered up here together just yet. So needs to kind of get everything else ready to go. Lings come in, but they're actually kind of on top of a queen. So I kind of felt like they shared some damage that was maybe unnecessary to share. Some of these Hellbats very low. Rogue again not targeting this medevac or not finding the time to target the medevac, but actually seems to have the firepower to break through these units anyway. Now the medevac actually does just about slip away. And these last couple of Hellbats will be going down. Killed a few queens. Nice. Resource loss this time is better for ByuN than it is for Rogue. Obviously, there's also the situation that he didn't invest into Liberators or anything to do damage this time as well, so there's definitely a little bit of a difference there. Now medevac loads up with Hellions. Low HP, we'll try and get into the main. The Overlord sped here from Rogue is really good, though, so sees this medevac very nicely. It's going to go over to the left-hand side. They'll not find a way. I mean, the medevac's also just low HP, right? So you don't really want that to be too exposed. We see one Banshee building as well. Intrigued by the Banshee. And as to what that might mean. Let's go cloaks. The second Banshee. It's the second Banshee that's about to pop. The first one, where's the first one then? The first one's already across the map and just kind of chilling. So we've just had Banshees as a follow-up here, but they've not really had much of an impact so far. Rogue, Bane Speed into the fairly quick Spire, and we'll see upgrades will be the next priority along from here. Banshees hanging around. The Hellions do come through, and a few of these drones being picked up. There's the Lings getting a good little surround on some of these Hellions as well. So, 2 Hellions going down, 4 drones do fall. And the Banshees on the way toward the natural, and they're going to find one queen away from the rest, but the other queens are still close enough. They're able to grab themselves a transfusion on that first queen, keep that up and running. They will not let their friend fall. Oh, one of the Banshees goes down. We'll pick off there from Rogue as the Spire is now establishing 2. Again, those melee upgrades still coming up. Now a few SCVs are going to make their way up down the low ground as well. Orbital Command is going to land, and a couple of those mules is going to come along in with it. 10 Mutalisks currently on the way in. See what they can get done, because ByuN's already starting to push, so the mutas are going to come in at a good time to maybe counterattack. Definitely got a good time to maybe put some pressure on these medevacs, right? And if you kind of just like, oh yeah, I can lift and leave, well, no. The mutas will be able to jump on top of those medevacs, and lifting and leaving is not going to be, you know, as clear-cut of an option. Big Ling Muta run by to begin with. As ByuN's just kind of chilling out on the map. He's going to let the units in here. Doesn't raise that depot. Now he lifts the... Oh. Well, the problem is letting these all the way up into the main base means that you've got a long way to run to come and defend against this. Now, yeah, the Lings are kind of trapped in here. the mutas can get out. What's the choice going to be? Well, the choice is going to be to fly the mutas down to the third base, where there is essentially just an open mineral line with no defenses on it. 15 workers going down. The Lings still being active in the main, keeping those Marines busy as well. That's part of the reason for the success, because the Lings are keeping so much busy. Everything else isn't able to properly focus on the mutas. These Lings going for a reactor, and ByuN messes up. He leaves the Lings alive. So now these reactors will go down. So the reactors are going to end up falling here. That's just big as well. And now, oh my god, playing with fire. 2 Widow Mines are just not quite in range. The mutas get a refinery as well, and ByuN takes a lot of damage from Rogue's attack. Rogue really just diving in there and putting some hurt on. Oh wow, as Medevacs, Hellbats, etc. coming through. It's going to be making their way forward, this army. Starting to get to the front. A couple of Banes continue to roll on through. A Widowmine shot goes off on a cluster of Marines. Another Marines pulling back down as well. Mutalisks coming back in. Our army of ByuN still setting up. Out in the center. Here go the Mutalisks around the top side as well, so they're also going to be making their way around to the north. Again, Marines, Medevacs, couple of Widow Mines all coming through. The other Lings up this right-hand side as well. Into this mineral line we go as a chunk of SCVs will begin to go down. Lings run straight on in. A few of these SCVs in some trouble. These Marines getting fully surrounded. This kind of reminds me a lot of Treadmill. Map number 2, where ByuN just kind of fell apart to the mutas, and you know, these counterattacks are just really well lined up out of Rogue. Like, they all just make sense, you know, they're hitting in the right place at the right times. ByuN's obviously distracted here, and it's very rare ByuN will just not micro against Banes running at his army, and that's just because there is just so much going on across the map. I mean, these guys are essentially fighting on a couple different, 2-3 different bases at once. ByuN's gonna run out of steam. That's the phrase I wanted to use before. Run out of steam, not running on steam. And Rogue is going to take the series 3-1. A bit of an underwhelming game on Yamatai, just because it